And now we are going to go live to Garvan Walshe, who is going to join us to discuss these results. We have also a few new numbers here. It seems that 81.5% already reporting. Garvan, thank you very much for joining us here tonight on TVP World.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure.
We can hear the celebrations behind you. It seems like there's going to be a change of the guard there in Budapest. What do you make of tonight's results? I know we're not completely there, but we're almost there.
It's a historic result and people are celebrating like change has come to Hungary in the way it hasn't come at least for 16 years or perhaps 40 years. It's an absolutely astonishing scene here. There are thousands of people spontaneously coming out, heading towards the TISA party because they have pulled off a very historic victory. They're on course for a 2/3 majority that allows them to change the constitution and undo a lot of the illiberal steps that Orbán took over his 16 years in power, and they're going to be able to do that. They have promised to have a sort of constitutional consultation. They don't want to do it on their own. They want to bring the whole of society together after this period of divisive politics.
Right, and if those numbers hold, then it looks like we have pretty much a landslide victory. With such, if he gets this constitutional majority, well, that kind of throws everything out the window that was assumed before, that Viktor Orbán was leaving so many institutional traps for Peter Magyar that he wouldn't be able to effectively rule. With these results, if they hold, what are your predictions for Hungary's direction and its place in Europe?
I mean, first of all, I think it's very likely these results are going to hold because the polling districts that have yet to declare are the ones in the big cities with large numbers of votes, and those tend to swing towards the opposition, or as we might want to say, the former opposition, towards TISA and against Fidesz. So if anything, their lead is going to consolidate as time goes on, and this allows Hungary to become a normal European country again, because we're dealing here with a centre-right formation, part of the European People's Party, along with parties like the Plataforma or the CDU in Germany. This isn't a shift to the left, it's a shift back to the centre, and a shift back to constructive relations with Hungary's friends, allies and partners. There are 2 or 3 things that are important here. One is their pledge to join the European Public Prosecutor's Office so that corruption will be able to be investigated, misuse of EU funds will be able to be investigated. They have pledged to consider joining the euro, and they're going to adopt a significantly more constructive attitude on foreign policy, particularly Ukraine policy. Now, Hungary has its views, it has its geopolitical position. Peter Magyar has been very careful not to strike out alone on Ukraine policy during the campaign, but he now has considerably more freedom to get back into the good books of Hungary's allies in Europe. And we're going to see a return to a normal governance, and I think because this defeat has been so decisive, Fidesz are going to have to do a lot of thinking about what their future is as a political force. How do they respond? They can't continue with the same old divisive politics. They're going to have to find something new as well if they're going to continue to exist in Hungary.
Well, we can hear the excitement behind you, and obviously the seats in that building behind you are going to change very significantly. But tell me, in terms of Poland, Polish government with Viktor Orbán, kind of like oil and water, what do you expect moving forward for Poland's relationship with Hungary?
Well, clearly there's clearly going to be a much more constructive relationship between Poland and Hungary now. TISA want to work constructively within Europe. They want to work with the Polish government. It probably means that relations between Budapest and the Polish presidency are going to get more difficult. There's going to be more tension there, but more commonality with the Polish government. They're going to see more eye to eye on Europe, on political reform there, on foreign policy, and on bringing the Hungarian economy back into the heart of Europe, because one of the big reasons for this change here has been the dismal economic performance of Orbán's regime in the past 4 years. they're now going to have to restore the rule of law, return foreign investment into Hungary, and that, together with the return of EU funds that have been sequestered, is going to be an important part of Hungary's revival and return to normality with this new government.
Right, so very tall order, but it looks like if these results hold, and for our viewers, we have currently we have 81.5% of votes counted. That would leave TISA with 137 seats in parliament. Fidesz would have only 55, so we have a landslide election victory for the opposition if these numbers continue to hold. We still have about 18.5% to be counted. We also have the diaspora. How do you think those votes will weigh in? And I know that they come in a couple days later.
Generally speaking, the diaspora vote has tilted towards the opposition. A lot of people had left Hungary because they didn't have opportunities here, and so they tended to vote against Fidesz whenever they had the opportunity. I don't think the diaspora votes are going to change this result. They might make it more decisive, and you're really seeing the desire for change being reflected in these election results. You're seeing an absolute majority of the popular vote going to TISA, 52, 53% last time I looked at a television. We'll have to see what it is now when we get off this discussion. But clearly you're seeing an absolutely decisive repudiation of 16 years of Fidesz government.
Absolutely, and big celebrations in Budapest tonight. Garvan Walshe, CEO at Article 7 Intelligence for Democrats, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.